Hi, my name is Liang, and I teach at SLGC. I've been involved with the school right from its inception and also in the planning stage. So before actually talking about the program, let me kind of, do this in a slightly more biographical manner. My background is in law, so my undergraduate as well as my master's was in law, but my PhD was in film studies. And that's a kind of a strange combination in some ways, but also telling of why we started a program of this nature. While doing law at law school, we were trained within a particular, kind of a disciplinary framework that tended to focus on what is popularly called black letter law. And of course, doing 5 years of black letter law at that point of time was like, choking oneself. In retrospect, we also appreciate the skills that we learned in the course of this training. But while an undergraduate law student, a number of us were also doing and exploring other areas. So many of us were involved, for example, in an English honors program that was taught in Bangalore. And that was really our introduction in a way to the world of literature, to theory, etc. And if we went to these programs in a way as an escape or a getaway from the drudgery of the law, the interesting irony was that in these programs we actually ended up picking up concepts and learning in a way kind of theories that allowed us to revisit what we were learning in the law school. So for example, very typically if one was doing questions of authorship and originality in copyright law, outside of the classroom we were dealing with French thinkers like Roland Barthes and Foucault, who were also working on questions of authorship. And all of a sudden you realize that you could go back into your own discipline with new kinds of questions and much more interesting intellectual kind of explorations in many ways. So this idea of an interdisciplinary conversation has not just been one which is about following a fad, because very often interdisciplinarity is a fad. It arises from a conviction that there is something incredibly fascinating about law, precisely because it is such an incredibly human project. In a country like India and in most post-colonial countries, almost every question of culture, of politics, will end up at some point of time in the courtroom, making it into a legal dispute. And the question is, what do we have to say about these, in addition to and in conversation with what legal scholars and lawyers have to say about them? That's really the motivation that prompted a program like this. For us, it's been an incredible experience speaking from the perspective of the faculty, because in many ways this is the kind of space that a number of us had been dreaming about and fantasizing about. There are a number of initiatives in India, the kind of scholarship that has come from anthropology, history, and from film studies, etc., that speak to the law in the last 10 to 15 years in India has been extremely influential and very, very kind of inspiring. There are networks that have emerged, like the Law and Social Sciences Network, but what was really kind of missing was some kind of an institutional context in which one could develop both in terms of programs, students, but also research, kind of agendas and eventually a PhD program, etc. And I'm happy to say that in some ways SLGC is that space. So it's been a privilege to be a part of this kind of journey. And I think it's only the starting point really of what we see as potentially cutting edge legal work and scholarship. The freedom that is offered in a place like SLGC has also been incredible. So to give you an example, the course that I taught last semester, which was on legal trials that shaped Indian history, brought together in a way a conversation between legal history but along with media history, because it was simultaneously a course about the transformation of media reportage and the shaping of legal publics. In the next semester, I'm teaching a course which is called Citing and Inciting, the intersection of law, literature and language. Now these are courses which thus far have always been imaginary courses and imaginary syllabuses that we've carried in our heads. And for the first time with a school like SLGC, they become a real course that's actually offered to real students. And we couldn't be happier for that.